Hi, it's Alan Cousins. We're going to talk today about the time frame, or what some people, some critics and haters, like to use as really the only thing they can find to criticize about OnPassive, and that is the time frame. And somewhere along the line, somebody got this idea that it was taking, quote, too long, unquote, or it was delayed or something like that. And this is an invented idea. This idea does not come from observation. It comes from some invented concept. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, but the first thing we need to understand is that if you are in some sort of venture, okay, if you have some sort of business or you've started some sort of affiliate or network marketing type of thing and trying to make money from home, if you are doing enough to make your business grow, you will get critics and haters. Let me say that again. If you are doing enough to make your business grow, you will get critics and haters. This is guaranteed. There's no way around it. You cannot avoid it. It is impossible to avoid it. You will not avoid it if you're growing your business. The only way to avoid it is to just stay home and not communicate and not promote and not make any business happen. So this is one of the fundamental laws of humanity. Anytime you're doing something that is pro-survival, in other words, if you're doing something that's good, that will help people, and you're doing it to a big enough degree, and it doesn't have to be that big. It could literally just be big enough to have made a dozen or 24 phone calls to people that you know. See, because that could be enough to cause growth. And just doing that will get you critics and haters. Generally, it's going to be about 20% of the people that you deal with are going to just not get it. They're not going to be able to see it. They're going to be more interested in criticizing and looking for ways why it can't work instead of ways why they can work. And when it comes to business, folks, look, any business is tough to build. I mean, if you go start a carpet cleaning business or a dog walking service or a house power washing or a painting service, or you open a auto mechanic shop, like, it's a struggle. That's how business is. Unless you just happen to get lucky, you open the only auto mechanic shop within 30 miles and it's right on a main highway, and who knows why nobody thought to do that before. You just got lucky with location. But for the most part, 99.9% of the time, anything you do is going to require a level of work and commitment that is beyond what the average person is accustomed to, because the average person is accustomed to showing up at a job every day and doing what they're told. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just pointing out to you the facts of the situation. And the facts are that in order to grow something, in order to build something, it requires quite a lot of push and quite a lot of commitment. And some people just don't like that. So they have to nitpick and find ways to make less of it. Now, about 2 to 3% of the people that you'll deal with will be straight up just antisocial, cannot tolerate, just cannot stand the idea of anyone else doing better in life. And they will actually put in dedicated work to try to tear down anything that's productive. So what I'm saying to you is, if you've managed to communicate at a high enough degree to impact 100 people, 2 to 3 of them will actively try to squash what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be raising funds to cure kids of cancer, and they will try to squash what you're doing. They will make things up. Now, I've been doing this a long time. I've been in the affiliate, home business, network marketing space for 23 years. And this is one of the biggest issues that people have, is they don't understand this. And way back in the early days, before we were ever using the internet, we were doing this offline. One of the first things we'd tell someone when they'd come aboard, we'd have a meeting, and they'd join or they wouldn't join. And before they left, if they joined before they left, or if they said, well, I got to go get the money and, I'll be back, we had to hat them. We had to tell them, listen, you're going to go home and you're going to try to explain this to people that you know, and a certain percentage of them are going to poo-poo it. They're going to tell you you're crazy. They're going to tell you it's a scam. They're going to look for every reason in the world why it can't work. And we just want you to be prepared so you know that, so when it happens, it's not a surprise to you. And what would happen is they would go home and they would tell people about it, and the people would say that. They would say, oh, that sounds like a scam. Why do you have to pay money for a job? Right? Like, not the awareness level not even high enough to understand the difference between a business and a job. These are the people who are giving advice. But when they would go home and they would see that and it would happen, now they would think, oh, Alan told me this would happen. He's right. If I hadn't taken the time to hat them on that concept, they would have gone home. Their family who loves them, right, would squash what they were doing and they wouldn't come back. So this is part of the game. This is part of what you need to learn to be in business, is you have to understand the world is not full of people who are trying to make things work. It's only about 80% of the people who are trying to make things work. 20% are not trying to make things work, and about 2 to 3% they're going to just do everything they possibly can to make less of you, to nullify you, to squash what you're doing. They'll post comments that make no sense. Like, you'll post a video and you'll address a specific thing, and they'll make a comment that looks like they didn't even listen to the video or they didn't grasp the concept that you covered. And when you see those things, that's that type of person that I'm talking about. And you can get involved in trying to argue with them, and it gets very frustrating. You just understand. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's OnPassive. It doesn't matter if it's some other company. It doesn't matter if you're just trying to recruit a bowling league. If you were just trying to recruit a bowling league, you would run into people who'd have negative things to say about bowling and, only fat people bowl and, just ridiculous nonsense. So that's the first thing. You have to have some understanding of the game that you're playing so that you can be strong and you can perform. So right off the bat, when you're out there and you're watching YouTube videos and looking at Facebook posts and you see ridiculous stuff like that, my first thought when I see something like that is, and I mean no offense to this person, but this is kindergarten level. Why are you on YouTube trying to validate your own observations? So my first advice to you, after being in this industry for 23 years and doing well and being the number one producer in a number of different companies and being almost totally automated and raising a kid by myself and doing homeschool, having no other parent, and being able to keep my business going, doing this business has been a tremendous blessing. My advice to you is make your own observations. Make your own observations. The data is there. So there's some introductory information on OnPassive, which is on the presentation pages and in the webinars that are being done. There's regular webinars being done all the time. There are teams holding guest webinars and things like that. The data's all there. To go beyond that introductory data, you have to get inside GoFounders. You have to become a founder. And within GoFounders, there's a tab that says webinars, and within that, there's recorded webinars. So for the last 2+ years, I've attended every private founder webinar. Now, as a founder, you get access to data that the general public doesn't have. So you pay for your founder position, you signed your NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, and once you've done that, you can access that material. So I have people coming to me all the time with questions that are answered in the founder's material. In other words, they want me to answer questions for them that they can only have the data for if they're a founder and they've signed their NDA. Now, the founder positions are refundable. So in other words, if you become a founder and you get in there and you go through a whole bunch of data and for some reason, I don't know what the reason could possibly be, but for some reason you don't like it, just get your money back. There is no risk. So right off the bat, when you see somebody out there talking about, well, this is a scam or that's not legit and it's a ripoff. First of all, it's usually someone who has like a default avatar on their YouTube, and you get there and they have one video and it's not relevant to any, fake accounts. But also, when you have something that's refundable, where you get full access to what's being offered, and if you don't like it, you can get a full refund, where's the risk? This data is not hidden. This data is known. It's publicly available to the general public. Make your own observations. So on this topic, go to the source, right? Get your data from the source. So if you're new to this, and you may have some questions, and I had questions when I was new to this too. But after 2 years of being on every private founders webinar, and there's a lot of other people who've been on every private founders webinar, we've been able to track along with the history of development of this thing, and it all makes sense. So when you say to yourself, I don't get it, how can they possibly say that you're going to make money if you do nothing? Well, you just don't understand it. You need to get in there and start going through the recordings of the private founder webinars. It will make sense at some point. I would suggest you start with the October 15th of 2020 webinar, because there's a lot of them in there. How many of those private webinar recordings would you have to go to before that light bulb clicks and you actually understand the entirety of what OnPassive is? It's not going to be one. It'll be more than one. It probably wouldn't take you 10, but it's going to take some doing. There's a point where people, after attending enough of these things, people reach a certain point where they have this realization. They go, oh, I get it now. And one of those things is about the enormity of what this is. Now, remember I said, make your own observations. So human beings are funny. Many of them operate on beliefs, not on observations. In other words, when you're trying to make sense of something, there's a source for that data. You can either go to the source and look at it and make your own observations, or you can go around and search on YouTube and Facebook and try to get other people's opinions. Well, other people's opinions are not useful to you. So I have to be very clear when I do stuff like this, these are observations. These aren't opinions that I pulled out of the air. They're not beliefs. I can't operate on belief. I can only operate on the data I have available. If I don't have the data, I need to get the data. Now, you may have a belief or a confidence in your ability to persist or commit to an opportunity or to make a decision, but that's entirely separate from the data. So stop worrying about anyone else's opinions, including mine, and let's start looking at the data. If you got stuff coming from me, it's all based on observation. So I try to share with you the source of the data to the degree that I can do that. Now with OnPassive, again, a lot of this material is covered by an NDA, and I can't, unless you're a founder and you can get into your member area and go through it yourself, it's not something that can be shared. But one of the observations I've made is that almost invariably, people out there who are criticizing use as their justification for their criticism the time frame between inception of the concept for OnPassive and launch date. In other words, it's delayed. It's taking too long. Why is it taking too long? Oh, it's been 2 years. Oh, it's never going to be launched. Oh, it's a scam because it's taking too long. What data is this based on? When someone is criticizing that particular point, which seems to really be the only point that these a-holes are criticizing, what's the basis for that? What is that? What is their observation based on? So, folks, you have people who 2 years ago, a friend of theirs came to them and said, look, there's this new thing. It's called OnPassive. If you get involved as a founder, you will be able to earn by doing nothing in a worst-case scenario. And they went ahead and joined. They never went through any of the material. They only had the 2-minute talk with their friend. They joined. They never logged in, maybe even never signed their NDA. And then 2 years later now, they see a post about it on Facebook, and they comment on there, I heard about this 2 years ago, and blah, 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 it's a scam. This person has no data. They have no understanding. Why do humans do that? Well, I don't want to get into philosophy here, but the fact is they do that. Now, I've had some people even within my own founder team who have come to me with stuff like this. And when I ask them, well, how many founders webinars have you watched? And they go, none. I go, okay, when's the last time you logged into your back office? Well, I don't know, like 9 months ago. All right. So what's your concept of what the products are going to be? Well, I don't know. What are they? You see, we're dealing with people who have no data. And a lot of the time when someone doesn't have the data, they'll just invent it. And they don't have to consciously invent it. They can invent it unconsciously. So all it takes is an absence of data and then receiving the opinion of someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, and all of a sudden this person has their own viewpoint on something, not based on any reality. I will have people comment on this video on YouTube saying negative things that are exactly things that I've addressed in this video, meaning they either didn't get the data, they just rushed to criticize, or that's their level of ability to observe and understand and duplicate communication. And someone may come along and not even watch the video, they'll just look at the comment, and that will be what they'll base their opinion on. Make your own observations. If you are not a founder and have not logged in to your GoFounders account and have not been through numerous recordings of private founders webinars, you don't even know what OnPassive is. You have just taken a taste, right? Like someone dipped their finger in the frosting and came in the other room and let you taste it and didn't tell you what it was on. You don't know if it's a cake or a cupcake or what it is. That's where you're at. The rest of the cake is in the founders webinars recordings. Well, I don't want to have to pay to get the data. Then you're not ready to be a founder, because the data that's available publicly on the presentation pages is enough data for an intelligent person to make the decision about whether they'd like to take no risk to be a founder, to get the rest of the data for which they need to sign the NDA first. But let's address specifically this notion that it's taking too long. When you say to someone it's taking too long, that can have a number of different meanings. I might say, well, it's taken too long. In other words, I wish it would launch because I'm excited about it. And when it does launch, it can free up my attention from a lot of these other things that I'm doing so I can focus on OnPassive, because the OnPassive product suite handles a lot of the work that I'm paying other companies to do for me right now. So that will save me money and it will give me another income stream. So when I say it's taking too long, like, because I'm excited, I wish it would hurry up. Other people, when they say it's taking too long, they mean to say that there's something wrong there. So earlier I said, make your own observations. So here's what I wonder when I see someone saying something like that. How long do they think it's supposed to take? Where are they getting this idea? In other words, what time frame was acceptable to them? And where did they get that idea so as to compare the OnPassive development time frame so as to develop the opinion that it's taking too long? Where does this come from? How long is it supposed to take to license dozens of different businesses, which, the OnPassive products, each one is a different company? How long does it take to license dozens of different companies in every country on earth that you need licensing for, or every country on earth you can do business in? Like Iran's probably not one of those places, but what is that, another 130 some countries? How long does that take? How long does it take to find attorneys that can do what you need to handle your legal interests in every country in the world? How long does it take to advertise for, interview, and hire the appropriate technical staff, right? Data engineers, machine learning people, AI specialists, people like this, as well as regular web stack development people, most of you, it would take you more than 5 years just to find and hire those people. But forget about all that. Let's just look at product development. It's a little bit tough to figure out how long it took to actually develop certain products. So for those of you who don't know, the basis, in my viewpoint, in my observation, the basis of OnPassive, one of the reasons why OnPassive is such a huge draw is because they're taking products and services that people are already using and they're already paying for, and these companies are already doing tens of millions, hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars a year, and creating a functionality that is superior to what's in the market and putting it all in one package so people have that for a much lower price. So one of the examples people commonly like to use is something like Zoom or Webinar Jam or GoToWebinar and things like that. If you take all the volume, all the dollars that are being spent on meeting software, video conferencing, webinars, and things like that, it's ridiculous. This will be like billions of dollars a year. So if we can give someone a better platform that's sexier and easier to use and has more functionality without any of the limits, then theoretically, removing any affiliate marketing aspect or any commissionable aspect, at some point, the majority of the market would begin to shift because they'll be getting more for significantly less. Now, multiply that across several dozen products. Right now, you'll see 20 descriptions of products on OnPassive.com, but these are just the ones that are either finished up in beta testing or about to finish up. More will be added over time. But let's just pick just one. And remember, we're talking about how long should it take? If you're saying it's delayed, how long should it take? What are you comparing it? You can only evaluate anything against some other datum. She's smart. Well, compared to what? You see? Well, she's smart compared to everyone else in her class. Right. Well, maybe everyone else in her class are morons. So, looking at something like accounting, well, we're thinking about something like QuickBooks, or whatever accounting software you use, or OStaff. OStaff would be comparable maybe to something like Kronos Workplace. I think Kronos Workplace is maybe the oldest or maybe even the biggest staff management, like HR staff management software. And again, it's a little hard to figure out like how long it took to develop these. Most of the information you find in these companies go from release date, but there are a few I've been able to find. So for example, one thing, this guy asked, how long does it take to create an accounting software like QuickBooks? So this guy's a developer, and he's asking what programming language is QuickBooks desktop version written in, and also roughly how long would it take a single programmer to build an accounting software similar to QuickBooks? So that's one thing I say to people. All right, well, you go out and build a duplicate of QuickBooks. Not even a duplicate. The idea is not to create a duplicate of QuickBooks, but you go out and you create accounting software that's superior to QuickBooks, that people who are using QuickBooks, they would rather switch from QuickBooks to use this because it's cheaper and it has more better functionality, or it's easier to use. Just hypothetically. You go out and build it. Start today. Go ahead. How long would it take you? What would you have to do? Would you be able to code it yourself? Would you have to go to college and learn how to code? Would you hire developers? If so, where would you get the money? Where would you begin? Where would you advertise for those people? How would you even interview them? Do you know enough about it to even be able to establish whether the people you're interviewing have the capacity to do what you need done? I bet you would end up hiring a lot of people that within the first month you'd end up firing, and you'd have to look for new people because you'd realize that they're not actually able to do what you need done. This is how business is, guys. You're putting out fires all the time. How long would it take you to do that? Anyway, this guy's trying to figure out how long it would take him to develop something like that as a single programmer. And somebody answers here and he says, Here's the language, C++ and C whatever, C sharp, whatever that is. How long depends. 10 million lines of code, with an industry average of between 9 and 500 lines of code per 8-hour day. Assume the best number in your 4 hours would get you 10 million divided by 250. So in other words, he's saying if you on average, if you average it out, 250 lines of code per day in 4 hours, like he's giving you the best numbers, that would take about 40,000 days, or about 110 years. He also says, but you won't get the best number because you'll lose track between the 4-hour bursts, forget the code you wrote 12 years ago, and so forth. So in a best case, 110 years for one developer just to sit down and code it, assuming they know what they're coding. So one of the things we learn from the founders' webinars is that the OnPassive products are being built from scratch. They're not buying software and using plugins. This isn't a WordPress install with plugins. This is all being built from scratch. So if it would take one developer 110 years to do it, how long would it take 50 developers? That's just one product of several dozen. So this would be like for the accounting. What about the staff management? staff. What about something like that? Well, if I go, well, what companies out there do HR staff management software? Well, Kronos Workplace is one of them. Here's the data on Kronos Workplace. Started with an idea from Mark S. Ein. There had to be an easier way to record employee time transactions, okay? So in 1977, he founded Kronos Incorporated. So that would be the date that would correspond kind of with the beginning of OnPassive, that very first video Ash did. The video that's on the presentation pages where he gives you the concept. You see, those vision videos that Ash has on the presentation pages, those are the concept. That was done at a time when OnPassive didn't exist. That was the concept of what OnPassive could be. And I think a lot of people who maybe, they got blinders on. Their world is just this little narrow zone of experience that they have, and they're not really observing in comparison to the rest of the world. And they think, oh, this is an opportunity, or I'm getting a job online and it's all ready to go and I signed up and I should be making money. It's been a week. What the hell's going on? They're not differentiating between getting an affiliate position with a company that's up and running versus something that's in development. The reason they're called founders is because you are here to found the company. You're a founder of the company, and the company is in development. Now, is it getting close to launch? It's getting close. I mean, a lot of these products are done. They're being tested. But that would kind of be what this date would correspond with. So 77, 79, 83, 85, 1985, introduced PC-based product, Timekeeper Central. That's 8 years. It took these guys 8 years to go from the establishment of the company to the introduction of their first PC-based product. Is it going to take OnPassive 8 years? No. What I'm trying to get across to you people is that there's a certain frame of reference. What are you comparing these time frames to? When you go out and you hear somebody talking about on YouTube, it's delayed, it's been delayed, and what is this based on? When will OnPassive launch? I have no idea. It will launch whenever it's done, whenever the products are all ready to go and they're functioning as they should be. And you have a company there that's not going to have to oh, whoops, that's broken. We got to fix this. And oh, whoops, that payment processor didn't. Well, we got to hold on for a month, guys, while we get another payment process. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been doing this a long time. I've been online since 2008. I've promoted hundreds and hundreds of different offers, most of which have not been like network marketing deals. But just out of the network marketing deals, if I include all my experiences back from offline, from 97 on through to present time, I've had 15 different companies either close, change the product so it doesn't work, change the comp plan so it's not worth my time, or have something happen where like they had to pull the product from the market for some reason. I had one company had to pull the product because it just worked too good. It was a wellness product, and it was actually healing people, and you can't do that. That's illegal to heal people. I don't know how many of you know that. But God forbid someone might get a benefit from your product. The FDA doesn't like that, so they had to pull that product. I had one company who, after the first month I was with them, their servers blew up. They had to get new servers. That took 2 weeks to reestablish everything. A month later, they lost their payment processor, had to get a new payment processor. A couple weeks later, they lost that processor, had to get a new payment processor. Then they plugged PayPal in there. Well, PayPal doesn't like it when your volume increases at a certain speed. So after about a week on PayPal, PayPal froze all their funds, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they had to get a new processor. That happened 5 times, 5 different processors over the course of 2 to 3 months, and every time it happened, we were dealing with some sort of snag. Well, so I'm glad you want to sign up. We can't do it right now. Got to wait for the new processor. And then the new person comes in, and they've been there a week, and all of a sudden the payments aren't going through, and they're like, what the hell? Oh, it's another. In other words, it can be a real nightmare. And some of this game is just being a little bit tough so you can handle stuff like that. But what if somebody came along and actually wanted to do things right? What if somebody came along and said, I'm tired of all this bullshit. I'm tired of having to deal with all these problems. Well, how about we just take our time and do it right and hire the appropriate staff? And what if instead of trying to rush everything to the market to see if the customers, the general public and the customers can break it, why don't we just make sure everything works perfectly exactly the way we want it? And every time that one's done, why don't we use it and see what else could be better, what else, what needs fixing, what needs improvement, and actually do that. Now, it's hard enough with one product. But when you're doing this for 20 products at the same time, or you've got 50 plus products, like in the hole, that are being worked on, how many development staff do you need? So when you really get into what the reality is of what's happening here, you realize, this isn't taking that long. This is actually going really fast. See, what we're doing requires a lot of man hours and a lot of time and a lot of money. The correct statement about the time would be, holy crap, I can't believe that they're doing this so quickly. That would be more correct. And so if you've watched the video to this point, now you know when you go out and you see someone who's not too bright and they're complaining about how long it's taking, as if there's some sort of a problem, now you know that that person's not too bright. That person doesn't understand what this is. And I'll tell you guys, in the course of promoting this, I'm finding the biggest problem that I have with getting people to understand it is human beings generally can't think big enough to digest the enormity of what OnPassive is. It's bigger than anything else you've done. If you've been in some health and wellness company, or you've been an affiliate marketer, you've been in some big things with a lot of people in the organization, this is way bigger because it's so all-encompassing. So when people tell you this is going to change the digital world, there's a reason for that. It's not just some made-up sales hype. You gain that when you're watching the founders' webinars and you see the new products come out and you realize, here's how all this fits together. You have to start thinking like Amazon big, Google big sort of thing. And some people just can't think that big. Some people can only think big enough that they can, the idea of, maybe I could earn a little something That's as big as some people could think. If you try to explain to some people, look, this is going to be the biggest thing on the internet in 5 years, and we're going to take 80% of the market in all these niches. That's this many billions of people. It's just too big for people. They can't think with that. What can people think with? Well, the more able people, they can think with the idea of, so you've been in all these network marketing companies, you've struggled, you've been uncomfortable with contacting prospects and qualifying them and inviting them, and you're not sure how to handle their objections, and you don't understand why your friends and family just don't get it, right? And so what we're going to do is you can become a customer, become a user, and even if you do nothing, by the result of our organic marketing, by the result of our paid marketing campaigns and the traffic that comes with your membership, at some point, you're going to share in enough profit that you're not going to have to pay to use any of these services anymore. And shortly after that, you'll be in profit. And you can make a little something even if you do nothing. Maybe you could even make a lot of something even if you do nothing. We don't know how much you're going to earn. I would tell you from my viewpoint and my observations looking at the numbers, I think that even the very last founder to come into this company is going to be very wealthy, even if they do nothing. But I have a basis for that. I have an observation basis for that, and you don't if you're not a founder and you haven't been tracking with 2 years worth of founders webinars. When you realize how all this stuff fits together, okay, and I can't go into details on it because a lot of this stuff is NDA stuff, but I'm telling you right now, if you're watching this video, you don't understand how all this stuff fits together. The marketing channels, the organic marketing channels, you got to start looking at things like how Google operates. If you have a Gmail account, it's free, and when you get in your Gmail, you see ads for things. Well, those ads are bought by people, and there's money flowing. So Google's making money off your email by showing you ads. You're not making any money on it. You start to take these little concepts and see how they could apply to the ecosystem of the OnPassive companies. There's going to be a lot of different income channels, and you, as a founder, you'll get to share in the profit of those things. And as a founder, you'll get to do that, you get to do that at a higher degree than people who are not founders will. And as a founder, you get priority traffic. You get additional traffic over other people. And as a founder, you get to log in and attend these private founder webinars and access the Leadership Council posts and all the updates and things, so you can track the development of OnPassive as time goes on. So if there's a difference between myself and between you watching this right now, you might say, well, I've been in this industry for a long time, so maybe I have a little bit better basis for observation. But also, I've just been tracking with these webinars for over 2 years. So I know what's inside. And, in my viewpoint, to not become a founder of this is insane. But let's say I'm wrong. You become a founder and you think, oh, this was a mistake. Just get a refund, guy. It's like people are working so hard to protect themselves against no risk. I've never seen anything like it. And, if your life is such a mess that you just can't even get $97 together to be a founder, you're not a person who's ready to start a business. Right? This video is for people who are in that headspace, like, I need to start a business, I need some kind of way to improve my lifestyle. The idea here is not to make it so you can't feed your family to become a founder. So this messaging here, this message is for those people. This isn't for the homeless people in the street. Now, maybe at some point, someone does well enough with this and they decide they'd like to help the homeless people in the street. Great, go ahead and do it. It's awful hard to help people when you're broke. It's awful hard because any help you can provide only involves your personal time, and that's limited. So go to the source, when you can't get the data from the public information on the presentation page, if you need to know more, that the more is inside. You need to become a founder and get inside. And what I would do is I would just be listening to replays of founder webinars. I'd start with October 15th, 2020, work my way to present time. And I would listen in the car while I'm driving, listen while I'm in the bathroom, listen while I'm doing dishes or vacuuming or doing laundry or making dinner. Listen at night when I lay down in bed. I mean, you can always rewind it if you fall asleep at some point. I mean, you can get a lot of listening in not that many days and get caught up. And there will be a point you'll hit where you just won't be able to sleep because you will have had that realization. You'll say, oh my God, I never realized just how big this is and how everything fits together. You'll just get it one day. And once that happens, now you have a new game in life. You have a new mission in life. You have a new purpose because you'll realize that all the times in the past when you failed and you brought people into something and you weren't sure how to do it yourself and they spent the money and they did it and they never did anything. And you've been saying, well, obviously you failed. You never did anything with it. Well, yeah, but every time you come to them with a new opportunity, they know they're not going to do anything with it. So they poo-poo everything. You know now that all they have to do is participate and they're going to see some results. Now, what's going to happen, this is my prediction based on, it's not a fantasy, it's not a guess, it's my prediction based on 23 years of doing this and what the plan actually is. My prediction is hundreds of thousands of people will get into this, never do anything. They'll never lift a finger, and one day they'll get a notification and they'll realize that their membership is completely paid for with their commissions just because of what the company was able to do as far as the profit sharing. And as soon as they realize, oh my God, I actually made money, even if it's only $1. As soon as they realize they made $1 by doing nothing, their interest level is going to shoot through the ceiling. And they're going to go, what's happening here? What is it? And they're going to start digging and learning about it. And then the next week or the next month, they realize, oh, I made $1 last month, and this month I made $48. Holy molasses, what's happening here? All of a sudden, they're going to realize, oh, people can actually win here, even if they do nothing. You see, the idea here isn't to make everybody do nothing. The idea here is, even if you do nothing. Oh, you work mandatory overtime every single week and have been doing that for 3 years, and you have 2 kids, and when you get home you're exhausted and you don't have a lot of capital, and you have like literally 0 minutes. Well, you could just become a user, and at some point you may actually earn some money. That person, right? Once they're making extra $50 or $100 a week, they'll be like, what? How far can this go? What can I do with it? I mean, this is like an extra $200 a month. That makes a big difference for a lot of people. I'm not saying you're going to make $200 a month. I'm giving you hypothetical example situations so you can think with the data. Nothing I'm saying is a guarantee of income. Your results could be better than my examples. It could be worse than my examples. My examples could be exceptional and not typical. We don't have any, the products haven't been released yet. We don't have any commission data yet. But there will be hundreds of thousands of people who do that. They get in, they do nothing. Not because they're stubborn, not because they're lazy, because many of them will have registered and they just don't even think about it. They don't have any time. And when they start getting results, all of a sudden, they're going to have a mental shift. And so all the times in the past when they've been in different network marketing or affiliate marketing companies and nothing happened because they did nothing, and they'll tell you that if you ask them. You've been in this you were in that company for 6 months. How much money did you make? I made nothing. Why? Well, because I didn't do anything. I never could figure it out. I never could figure out how to work it into my schedule. The first day I put 2 hours in, and after that I got distracted and I did nothing for 4 months before I quit. This isn't a big secret. Now if they do nothing, they can still at least break even, but they're making $1. They're making $1 a week, and they go, my God, people can win here even if they do nothing. Why would they ever go anywhere? Why would you not share that with someone? Now they start telling people, hey, you know what happened to me with this OnPassive thing? I signed up because my cousin Dwayne said I should, and I didn't know about it, and I did literally nothing, and now I'm making $1 a week doing nothing. But I got to cancel my QuickBooks because now I'm using our accounting software. They don't even know what all the products are. Do you know how many people this is going to happen for? Where they realize that they're actually winning without doing anything? And now all of a sudden, they're going to start doing something. They're going to start talking about it because now it's real to them that people can get results. See, I'm in a unique position having done this for so many years. I know what all the reasons are why people don't do it. And you'd be surprised. It's not just because they don't know how. It's not just because they don't have a social influence. It's not just because they're introverted. A lot of the time, it's because they're just not sure if the person's going to win. They don't want to put their friends into something if they're not sure they're going to win. If their friend is going to come in and do nothing for 4 months and quit, now every time they see their friend, it's awkward. Well, I just don't think I could sell something I don't believe in. That's how it manifests. Do you believe in it? Believe. What is for me, this is nonsense. I don't operate on belief. I operate on what the facts are and my observations. And in the past, I know for a fact that if someone's not getting results in an opportunity with me, it's because they're not doing it. Period. It's not because of the company or the products. And they know it too. Some of them will tell you the reason they didn't do anything is because they didn't believe in it. And what they're telling you is, I'm not 100% confident about putting my loved ones into something where I'm not certain that they will get a result. But once someone starts getting a result themselves, now they have certainty. And the big shift with OnPassive is because of what the products and services are, we will have an organic influx of users. Forget about the affiliate program. You'd have to be some sort of deranged person to want to spend more money on a service that's worse. When you can come to OnPassive, use all of the products and services for one low price, and have superior quality without limits. At some point, people will be shifting. You'll have people, and all they'll have to do is just find people paying for GoToWebinar. That could be a whole target market right there. Hey, why don't you try ours? It's free. You start on a trial. Try it. If you like it, great. Then you can continue and it'll save you a ton of money. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. Maybe you can use some of our free services. And guess what happens? They come in for the trial. They got their 7 days. By the end of the 7 days, they've already got more business allocated to them. In other words, they've already shared more in the profit than what the account costs. And they have to click a few buttons to activate their account. It's huge, folks. It's bigger than I can explain in a video. You have to get inside and start going through the material. So you'll have your aha moment, and you'll enroll people, and they won't have that moment until the system starts producing results for them later on. But if you're getting hung up on the opinions of misinformed, uninformed people, many of whom are only putting videos out there to promote whatever they're selling, and so they see this as an opportunity to rank a video for the term OnPassive because they realize that OnPassive is a hot search term. They're not doing it out of any humanitarian effort. They're doing it because they want a video ranked for the search term OnPassive so they can get traffic to their other deal. And what's the best way to do that? Oh, you talk about how something's a scam. Is it a scam? Is it not a scam? Some of these people, they got 100 videos about this company spam, XYZ company scam, OnPassive scam. And you get in the video and they tell you, well, it's not a scam. But it's bad form. Only an amateur makes those sort of videos. It's so distasteful. It's rumor mongering is what it is. Make your own observations. Now, if you want an opinion, I can give you an opinion. My opinion is that OnPassive is going to be the biggest company in this space that's ever been. For me, in 23 years, I've looked for certain things. And I've never had a situation where, from a product standpoint, it's exactly what I would be looking for. From a pay plan standpoint, it's exactly what I would be looking for. From the standpoint of, can the average person win? If I put my own grandmother in, would she be able to win? It's exactly what I'm looking for. From a community standpoint and the dedication and the affinity between the members of those in leadership, it's exactly what I'm looking for. If we really want to go above and beyond, like to ridiculous, sickening levels, to make sure that this is here to stay and this is your future and it's going to be here, well, you got a guy who's willing to do stuff like that. You got a guy who's willing to put his own money in to do stuff like that. And that's one of the things you learn when you start attending these webinars. You get to know the people who are involved in this, in particular the CEO. And you can come to your own conclusions. I have yet to meet anybody who spent a significant amount of time on these things with the CEO coming out of it and going, oh, I don't like that guy. It just doesn't happen. There's no reason why he even has to be doing this. He's doing it for you. And the reason I'm taking time to make videos like this is for you. There's a lot of things I promote. And I could just sit and do nothing with this, and I'd still do well. That's not how I operate. I operate by thinking about, what do you need and want? That's the first question I ask. What do you need and want? Like, it's real to me because I'm the guy who was on mandatory overtime before I started online. I was on mandatory overtime. And I had a bad marriage with the spouse that was a raging, violent alcoholic, and I had a toddler, and I had no time, and I had no money, and I had to make it go right, and it was hard for me. I didn't know anything. First 3 months, I slept 2 to 3 hours a night because I gave up my sleep time to do it. Like, I didn't just happen into this business. I know what it takes to go from being stuck in that time trap to being free. I've done it, and I've done it multiple times. So I know what it's going to take you. And I'm telling you, this is as easy as it's going to get for you. You don't even have to promote if you don't have the capability to do so. And for me, that's exciting. Do you know how many people over the years I've had involved in different opportunities who just never did anything? Great product, great opportunity, everything makes sense. They know people who need it. And they just don't do anything. Sometimes it's, they're just afraid. They're just afraid to contact people. And sometimes it's like, I don't know when the hell I can't fit it in. Right? Oh, their kid gets sick. Their kid develops a chronic illness, and now they can't, all their time's occupied. Or they got to quit. So this is a manifestation of someone else who's been in this industry for a long time, who's made all these same observations. You see, we make all the same observations. He knows all the same stuff that I know. And now we have a way where everyone can win. And some of you maybe are just a little bit too impatient and have some crooked notions about how long it should take to actually put that out. So the beginning of OnPassive was a concept. And we've gone from concept to almost complete in about 2.5 years. Well, when's it going to launch? It's going to launch whenever the products are done and everything is done. You know, all the payment processors, all the legal work, all the incorporations, all this stuff that needs to be done that most of you couldn't get done if we gave you 10 years. If it takes another month, great. If it takes another 6 months, fine. If it takes another year, it's not going to take another year, I don't think, but if it did, okay. That's how long it takes. So we got to keep things in a sane frame of reference. Even after all this, I'll still have somebody commenting some negative bullshit on this video. It's amazing. If you're just kind of looking into OnPassive and somebody told you about it and you came across this video, you know, go back to them. Go back to them and sign up as a founder through them. If you don't have that situation, you need someone to join through, I'll put a link here somewhere where you can do that if you need to. Also keep in mind that I have over 200 how-to tutorials on alancousins.com. And I don't even ask you to opt in for those. You can just go there anytime. From the titles and the descriptions, you can tell what the post is about. And I have a free 4-part home business how-to series where I show you just the things you really need to know, and I filter out all the crap you don't need to know. It's a free series, and it takes you through from the simpler to the more complex, so that you can understand like what needs to be done to actually start and build a home business, and then how to start automating it. And really, with the data in that 4-part series, you could build a big business. I mean, that's the meat and potatoes of what I do. So I'll put a link to that here somewhere. If you have any questions about any of this, I'm happy to get to emails. You know, please don't email me and say, hey, call me, I have a question. Put your question in the email, and I'll get you either the answer or a link to the answer. I'll put my contact here, contact info here under the video, wherever you're watching this. Okay? Guys, thank you very much for your time. I hope that was helpful for you. We'll talk to you next time.